fast, control that ball. Ready.
Eugene, Oregon, the Emerald City of the Willamette Valley and home to the reigning Big Ten champions. After an undefeated regular season in year one, the Ducks are doubling down. We'll talk to head coach Dan Lanning and his coordinators about replacing 18 starters and what needs to happen for Oregon to make it 3 straight years with a Heisman finalist at quarterback. That and much more as the Big Ten football training camp tour from Eugene starts right now. A warm and beautiful August day here in the Pacific Northwest. Relatively quiet right now at Adamson Stadium, but it won't be long before this place transforms into one of the loudest and most competitive environments in all of college football. Today, though, just the sounds of fall camp as the Oregon Ducks set the foundation for what they hope to be another championship run. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Oregon Training Camp Show. Yogi, Roth, Ashley, Adamson, so glad that you are with us. And it only felt right for the first stop on the West Coast edition of this camp tour that we start with the defending Big Ten champions.
Yeah, and I think the defending Big Ten champs are flying under the radar a little bit. I get it. Penn State has so much talent. Ohio State, the defending national champions. But you look at Oregon, and while a lot of production is no longer here, they've replaced it, whether it's via the transfer portal, whether it's a freshman class. Cannot wait to watch how this thing comes together under Dan Lanning.
Another top 5 recruiting class, another top 5 portal class. But as you mentioned, they've got to replace 18 starters from a team that went undefeated in the regular season a year ago and won the whole thing their first year in the league. I think that's the big question, is how does it all come together? There's a lot of experience and talent, but not a lot of Oregon experience.
Yeah, well, this is where Dan Lanning's just absolutely masterful, right? We all know his DNA traits now: connection, growth, toughness, and sacrifice. It starts with connection. This team is truly connected. This began back in January after that Rose Bowl game where they lost to Ohio State. And then I look at some of the personnel on the offensive line. I mean, this is one of the more physically imposing offensive fronts. Defensive line, where championships are won, it's one of the most experienced and talented fronts in this league. And then, of course, we get to quarterback. Who is it going to be replacing the top 2 most experienced quarterbacks in the history of the league, or in the history of college football, over the last 2 seasons? So I can't wait to watch Dante Moore, Austin Novosad battle it out.
And real quick, just you've studied the quarterback position, you've coached the quarterback position before. What is going to be the separating factor when we look at who's going to be named the starter here on August 30th? Well,
look, they got to score points, and under Will Stein and Dan Lanning, that's definitely going to happen with all the weapons that are at the quarterback's disposal. But I always go to, if you're a quarterback, you have to have elite traits. You have to have unique traits. And I think Dante Moore might have the most unique arm in this league. If he's able to win this job, I think he has a chance to be the most dominant quarterback in the entire league. And I get it. He hasn't even started here. Hasn't been named the starting quarterback here. But if that is the case, I think you're looking at one of the more talented quarterbacks in the country.
Of the many storylines that we are excited to see today, we are excited to watch the quarterbacks and see how that battle is playing out. The one thing we know for sure is that, as you mentioned, whoever takes over that position, they've got big shoes to fill, and they will have far less experience than their 2 predecessors. You look at Bo Nix and Dillon Gabriel, both Heisman finalists the last 2 years, and they finished their college careers number 1 and 2 all time in FBS starts, and it's going to be a very different picture at Oregon this year. Dante Moore started 5 games as a true freshman at UCLA. Austin Novosad has appeared in 6 games in 2 seasons. You can't fake experience, so the question is, what will Will Stein's offense look like with a new quarterback running the show? Well, the man who may know the answer to that question is the offensive coordinator, Will Stein, who joins us now. Coach, it's great to see you.
It's great to see you too. Last time we saw each other was this time last year, right?
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I know. The dog days of camp, we were just, talking to some of your players and being able to be around this campus. I know this is going to shock you, but we got to start with the quarterback position. I know you haven't been asked about that at all.
Yeah.
Figured we'd start with that. When you look at what you were able to do the last 2 years, Bo Nix and Dillon Gabriel ended up in New York as Heisman finalists. This year, whoever wins that job is going to have a lot less experience. What has it been like for you as you're teaching and going through installing your offense and trying to figure out who's going to lead this team?
It's been a great challenge. We've really enjoyed it. We have an awesome room, and not just great players, but really, really committed, great people in that room that have done a phenomenal job so far. Starting from winter workouts in our spring football program to summer strength and conditioning, and now in fall camp. So I'm really excited about that group. I think there's a lot of talent, obviously unproven, untapped. Dante has had college experience, which is great. Austin's got some action in a few games here at Oregon. You have Luke Moga there as well. Brock Thomas, a local kid from Sheldon High School. So great group of kids that love football, that are committed to this team, and have done a really good job so far.
Okay, so good job. The non-answer answer on who
That's
the starting
right.
quarterback's going to be. Whoever the starting quarterback is, they're going to be playing in front of pretty much a brand new offensive line, but one that returns over 140 career starts. How has that group gelled in training camp? That's
been the big challenge, is getting the offensive line gelling, like you just said, and it takes time. And it's been really fun. I mean, Alik Terry, to me, is the best offensive line coach in the game. We call him the law firm. You know, we have multiple O-line coaches in that room that have poured into those guys. And, you know, I think you've seen slowly over fall camp those guys gelling and getting quality reps together. And it does start with them. You know, you think about where we want to start this season out, it's starting fast, starting furious, and it starts with those offensive line.
Kenyon Sadiq is a guy who I think a lot of people maybe didn't know how talented he was until the first quarter of the Big Ten championship game last year. What does he bring to the mix? And having a tight end, what does it allow you to do?
Yeah, I kick myself every day for not throwing the ball more last year, you know. But, you know, you got Terrence Ferguson in that room and Pat Herbert that were awesome players, T. Ferg, a second-round pick. So Kenyon has done a great job of really stepping up and not just being a great player for us currently, but a great leader. You know, he's really finding his voice. He does everything you want on and off the field, extremely well-spoken, great family, but he is a freak. He's an absolute freak. I'm excited about what he's going to do this season, and it's our job to give him the ball as many times as possible.
I think there's a fun challenge for offensive coordinators when you have like a hoops team out there and you have all of this talent. You've been calling plays for a long time now. How have you evolved to make sure that you can manage the talent, the personalities, the game plan, the opponent all at once with a season that might be flying under the radar, but I think you have a chance to potentially repeat as champions?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because everybody wants the ball, you know, and there's only one football out there on the field. So you have to do things formationally or personnel groupings or, you know, get it to plays or easy touches for guys, and especially early in the game. You know, you want to get guys in rhythm, and the way to do that is to design plays for them to get them the ball. So it's a challenge, but it is nice to have the weapons at our arsenal.
An embarrassment of riches. I think you don't really know who your team is until you actually kick off and play against another opponent. But for you, what's the biggest question mark as you look at what you want to accomplish this year before August 30th?
Well, quarterback's something that you guys have already mentioned. I think there's just a lot of new pieces. You know, everybody talks about talent and potential, but to me, potential is everything that you're not. So it's our job to get these guys playing together and play together quickly. You know, you think about our season, how we started last year, it wasn't how we wanted it to, and thankfully we came away with 2 victories, but you know, we face a really good team week 1, and a team that's played in the national championship game at their level. But that's our challenge. Can we start fast this season? Can we gel as a group and get these guys going?
I'm curious, just overall, this training camp seems intense from what we see online. What have you noticed about the competitive temperament of a team that's veteran-laden in the defensive front, on the other side, experience-laden in the back end, and the offense that you just described?
Competitive, like you just said. It's been a back-and-forth battle every single day. When I get to face off against Dan Lanning, Tosh Lupoi, Chris Hampton, Tony Tuioti, Brian Michalowski, these unbelievable coaches on the defense side of the ball, I was telling Tosh today, I mean, I see more defense every single day than any plays I've ever experienced in my life. And that's good because once we get into the season, there's nothing that we really haven't seen. But extremely talented on that side of the ball, up front, a back end that has a lot of length that really challenges our wideouts every single day. But it's been a battle. It's been a lot of fun. And I can't wait to see what happens tomorrow and today in practice.
And neither can we. We're looking forward to watching your team this year, and we're looking forward to finding out who the quarterback is on August 30th, is imagine when we'll know.
I can't wait to.
All right. Well, Stein, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oregon's defense has reloaded after losing a lot of their front to the NFL. Coming up, we'll hear from a hard-hitting newcomer and a versatile vet about how this group plans to stay among the nation's best. Then, a visit with the head coach himself. Dan Lanning stops by to share the blueprint for another title run.
5 carries, 27 yards. Now Williams looking to throw. This time he gets crunched, and who else? Bryce Boettcher, the local Eugene kid.
Bryce Boettcher, the hometown kid from Eugene who passed on the NFL to come back and play one more year. He is back to anchor Oregon's defense, and he's joined by Thieneman, an All-American safety with back-to-back 100 tackle seasons. Thieneman transferred from Purdue this offseason as a top-ranked safety in the portal, and together, as you see, they give the Ducks two of the Big Ten's top returning tacklers. And Bryce Boettcher and Thieneman joining us now. Gentlemen, it's great to see you. Getting ready to put a bow on camp, which I'm sure it feels like you guys have been out here and at this a long time. 12 practices in. How's it going so far?
It's going pretty good. I mean, just taking it day by day, just trying to get through it.
Has Bryce been showing you the ropes?
Yes, yeah. Bryce has been taking me along, kind of showing me what Oregon's like.
Well, and I wanted to start there because obviously you come over from Purdue. I imagine you had a lot of options to go a lot of different places, given your talent. Why did you choose Eugene, and has the culture met your expectations?
Culture has definitely met my expectations. There's great people here, great people on the team. When I first kind of went to the portal, just was looking for scheme, development, and then where I can face like really good competition. Oregon kind of brings all that to the table.
Love it. 1.7 miles away is where you played high school football. A little further for you. Have you shown him around the community and made sure that he can understand the power of Eugene?
Yeah, we've done some things together. It's kind of funny, though, because when he was at Purdue, he kind of had the same vibe, hometown kid. Yeah. And then now he comes here, and, we're up at the golf course, and, it's hard for me to go somewhere without being recognized. And he's like, man, it feels like I was just there because, he was doing the same thing at Purdue. So it's cool how we can relate on that level together. And, yeah.
Talk to us about this defense, because there's a lot of new faces, only 3 returning starters. You're obviously one of the veteran leaders of this group. How is it coming together? Because it feels like you guys have so much talent, and it's just, what's the puzzle going to look like?
Yeah, obviously we got a lot of talent and not a whole lot of returning guys from last year. But with that being said, we do a good job of, teaching new guys. You don't really got to teach him anything because he already knows what winning culture looks like. But, just getting new guys to buy into winning culture, what it looks like, what our program's about and the identity of our defense. And it starts in workouts, starts in spring ball. But I think we got a good defensive unit coming out right now. So.
From the moment you arrived, and no matter who we talked to on the staff, on the roster, you talked about your work ethic and how early you showed up, how late you had stayed. I'm curious, what drives you to tap in and maximize the potential that you have?
Really just seeing how my brothers did it when they were kind of in college and working their way up. So that kind of gave me the work ethic that I know that I needed to be at to kind of get where the places I wanted to be. So coming in here, I was a new guy. I kind of wanted to establish myself and show everyone. So I started coming in here early, trying to work hard, trying to outwork this guy next to me. Yeah. And then I like building routines, and I just got in that habit.
I think everyone's curious to see what the secondary is going to look like because, again, you have so many, you're replacing all 5 starters in the back end. What have you seen as you guys have started to work together and the chemistry of that group?
I've seen we're really athletic guys. A lot of guys who just want to get out there, want to ball, want to show what they can do, but don't have a lot of experience. So it's just getting them that experience, getting them the right mindset, trying to condition them and get ready to go out there and play.
For you, you've been around this program for a long time. There's so much talk around the DNA traits, connection, growth, toughness, and sacrifice. We get to see a lot of that with the content that you share. I think something that has landed on the entire country who follows college football is the walk you always take up to Spencer Butte. Yeah. What has that done for this program? Someone who knew Spencer Webb, you were on a team with him, and I'm curious how you've seen it impact newcomers, let alone the guys that have been here for a few years.
Yeah, I think it's just sharing that message. Obviously, Dylan didn't know him, and a lot of guys on the team now, weren't a part of that and weren't on the team. But it's just sharing the message that you can't take anything for granted. The time we get to share together is precious. Connection is important. You never know when your last day on this earth might be. And, I think it's just getting guys to buy in and understand that. And, that obviously that hike symbolizes, what our team's about and our DNA traits. So, I'm glad we get to do that every year.
It's been amazing to see the culture that you guys do have here in Dan Lanning, what he's been able to build. And obviously, it's player-led. Last thing I got to ask you about is my favorite soundbite from Media Day was you calling him a nerdy meathead.
Oh, man, yeah.
Was that a term of endearment, or what? Was
it
he
was,
good with that?
Yeah. It was a term of endearment. I was being honest. He is. He's very cerebral, but also, turns up and gets the team fired up when he needs to. I feel like it's rare to, find both, but it's, it's definitely a compliment.
Yeah. I mean, it takes one to know one, I would say. You got a little, both of you guys got a little nerdy meathead, I think, in the best way.
I'd probably say I'm a little more meathead at the linebacker position, but you definitely have to be intelligent as well. So, I'd say I'm a little bit of both.
I love it. Well, thank you guys for making some time for us. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to watching you this season.
I appreciate you guys.
Best of luck.
Thank you for having us.
Tosh Lupoi's defense barely skipped a beat in adjusting to Big Ten play. They gave up a little over 19 points per game last year, but it's worth pointing out when you look at those numbers, that number was actually closer to 16 points per game in the regular season, but they struggled against Penn State in the Big Ten Championship and Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, giving up nearly 40 points per game in those two postseason appearances. And we will hear from Tosh Lupoi coming up in just a little bit about the evolution of the defense since he's been there. But Yogi, when you look at specifically what we saw today, and I wasn't sure how much we were going to be able to glean from the defensive side of the ball when they're in shells, but what was your biggest takeaway?
Well, it was as efficient and explosive a practice as we've seen, I think, on the tour thus far watching teams. I think especially when you lean into the veteran side of this team, you shouldn't be that surprised. I mean, that is the standard here. This isn't a rebuilding culture, even though they've lost players on the defensive side to the National Football League. This is a reloading element. I think we saw a veteran approach. Nobody was on the ground, flying to the football, tagging off on the football, all things that we've come to learn and be accustomed to under Dan Lanning.
I mean, they lost, to your point, 4 guys on the defensive front to the NFL draft. So there are a lot of holes to fill. But it doesn't feel like a rebuild. And the biggest thing to me is watching those guys out there. I mean, those D linemen, there's some beefy trenches here in Eugene.
It really is. You go to practice and you forget about the players that they left, not because they weren't talented players, but because there's so much talent here right now. So looking at the edges, Tatum Tuioti, remember the name, folks. I mean, I think he's got a chance to be a true game wrecker in the Big Ten this season. We all know about Mateo Uyunglele. And then inside, got Amari Washington and Bear Alexander. Amari Washington, he's the riser, and then Bear Alexander, he's had a few different stops. Georgia, SC here. They're going to need him to be productive for this defensive front to have success.
Bear Alexander has known Dan Lanning for a long time. Obviously, he recruited him to Georgia, and now he's here. I think people are interested, and Oregon fans in particular are excited to see what a reset looks like for him, because we know that he's talented, but it didn't work out in LA.
No, I think there's something in the college football transfer portal world, Ash, where eligibility, when it starts to run out, your back's against the wall, the sense of urgency goes up. And then you drop into this culture. This is championship culture, right? The number one trait is connection. And you've watched him connect to his teammates, and not just off the field as friends and as teammates, but around the standard around here, right? Mateo Uyunglele, Tatum Tuioti, Bryce Boettcher. I mean, you look at the players on the defensive side, they all are very purpose-driven in terms of returning like Bryce or entering their third season like the edge players. And I just expect Bear to rise up. I really do. I think he'll have his most efficient season. I would think he'll be extremely productive in a very aggressive defense under Tosh Lupoi.
Let's talk about the back end of this defense, because again, they're replacing the entire secondary. The cornerback position is really interesting. They've recruited a bunch of 5-star guys here. They've got so much elite talent. Is it going to be the guys that came in? Is it going to be the vets and the transfers? But the safety position, I feel like the guy we just talked to, Dylan Thieneman, is going to set a tone for the secondary.
The minute he walked in, he did, right? You say, hey, he and Bryce, who's going to get here earlier, 5:15, 5:30, who's the first one in the building? I think that has set the tone for this group, and it's a really eclectic group of youth, to your point, and also veteran experience, and then I'd add in length. I mean, you go back and you turn on the Ohio State game, a lot of man coverage, a lot of Jeremiah Smith climbing the ladder, making plays. I think you'll see a team with a variety of different skill sets. You've got corners that sit 6'4". You've got safeties at 6'5" in Kingston Lopa, and then you've got Dylan Thieneman, who's dramatically productive. So I think they've got 8-9 players that will have to rotate in a very long season. They'll make a bunch of plays in this back end, and overall, this defensive unit, I think, will take another step under Tosh Lupoi.
They've only got 3 starters returning on the defensive side of the ball. So in your mind, what's the biggest question mark? Like, what's the thing that's going to make this from being a good season to a really, truly elite special season?
Well, I think always you go back to just missed tackles, right? You look at the little moments in games, plays on the ball, like these little things. And I think watching practice, like all the elite teams, really all teams, the situational football is really impressive. It stands out. Different moments in games, different moments in the red zone. Can they make those plays? And I think this team is ready to make that next step. I said off the top, I think they're dramatically undervalued. And I get it. They're a top 10 preseason team, but I still think that the country is not talking enough about the Oregon Ducks. And I do think while all the players you reference are gone on defense, I don't feel that way, Ash, watching them. I think this is a veteran-laden group. Experience coming from other schools at times, but also the core of this defense with those edges and Bryce Boettcher, look out. I do think the Ducks have a chance to take another run.
There is no question. One of my biggest takeaways, this is a team with a ton of juice. A lot of juice. Much more to come. Straight ahead, a visit from the head coach, Dan Lanning, discusses the quarterback situation and what he's learned about his team with the season opener looming.
Congratulations to the Oregon Ducks, Big Ten champions.
These players put on the line every single day. They work their asses off. They're so proud to be Oregon Ducks. And tonight they went and won the damn Big Ten.
It was a banner year for Oregon in their debut as a member of the Big Ten. The league champs were the only FBS team to go undefeated in the regular season last year, and they tied the program record for most wins in a season. Only other 13-win season at Oregon was Marcus Mariota's Heisman year when they played Ohio State in the national championship. Heading into his fourth season leading the Oregon Ducks, Dan Lanning. Coach, great to spend some time with you. It's good to see you as always. I know this is a fun time of year for head football coaches, tinkering with all the different pieces that you have. I want to just ask you big picture as you look at this group, as you try and make everything come together and get ready for August 30th. Where are you right now compared to where you hoped you would be?
I love where our team's at, right? I really love our progress. This is as fun of a group to coach as I had, because there's a lot of coaching going on the field. Like, there's a lot of, hey, we got to grow here, we got to get better, but I see that growth every single day in practice. I see players that are really eager to be coached and want to improve, so it's been a really fun camp.
I loved what you said the other day about how coaching is like finding a different way to say the same thing over and over again. What is, when you look at your evolution as a head coach, where have you grown?
Man, so many places. There's nothing like experience, right? And whether it's letting your highs get too high or your lows get too low, I think I'm a lot more even keel now in these moments and realize, hey, it's an opportunity to solve a problem. But so often you're asking your players to have calm and poise in situations, and then you as a coach don't have that. So probably an area I've really grown up.
Okay, under construction, right? That's the title of the doc series. You walk around this stadium, construction is going on right outside of your office window.
Yeah.
How have the players leaned into that narrative? You got to replace a ton of productivity, and I'm curious, here we are, middle of camp, where you think that's netted out?
The competition is at a really high level right now. I think we always talk about if you're good enough, you're old enough. I see a lot of players that can have roles for us on our team this year. So, you know, they've taken that. They realize there's spots sitting out there for somebody to go take, and there are going to be some guys that are, you know, we have multiple guys working in spots because of the job they've done. So they've been in attack mode, which I love. Like I said, they're really receptive to coaching, which is huge. Right? Sometimes hard for a young group, and they've done a really good job of that.
Attack mode, I feel like that is personified by your team. We talked to Bryce Boettcher. He talked about you in the attack mode. I think, what was the quote?
Nerdy meathead.
Nerdy meathead.
But he said it to your face.
Yeah.
Which I
He
think,
did.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I was going to say, I think it's a compliment.
I think yeah. But attack mode for this team, I think after you have tremendous seasons like you did a year ago, there can be a world where you come to Oregon, it comes to you. I can't imagine you allow that to fly around here. How have the new faces, you referenced whether it's Decorey and more, some of these young guys leaned into attacking the opportunity that's right in front of them?
Yeah, first I just, shout out to our personnel staff and our recruiting staff. We did a really good job of getting some great young players in here. And what that role will look like, we'll see, right? But we've got guys that can play football. So I'm really excited about that young group. And they've been in that mode of play. Like, nothing's going to be handed to me. I got to go take it, and appreciate that effort from them.
What is the hardest thing when a guy comes in and he's making the transition to the college game to get them up to speed to understand what's required to play at this level?
Well, one, stop worrying about outside noise, right? And focus on your process, not outcomes. We've talked a lot about process over outcomes, this fall camp, but sometimes you have to remind some of these guys, especially the young guys coming in, that what was it like your freshman year in high school? It probably wasn't the easiest thing in the world. You're doing that all over at a higher level, a higher scale, where everybody was the best player on their high school team. So being able to recognize that, see exactly where you're at, and look for those opportunities for growth has been really big.
It's a blast to watch, kind of under the hood, what you all do. You have leadership retreats, whether it's at your home. You got get real meetings in the staff room, and there's a lot of things that you all share. I'm curious for you as the orchestrator of all of that, like, what is the common denominator that you think connects the successful teams that go through some of those off-season experiences?
Yeah, I mean, connection is always that ultimate piece. You have to have relationships. Somebody asked me yesterday, do you hire a good recruiter. I said, no, you hire somebody that's good at relationships. Like, relationships have to be the key to what we do, and that's in how we coach. That's in how we receive coaching. Like, all those things matter, and it starts there. And our guys have certainly done an unbelievable job of creating that connection.
And you've laid the foundation for that connection. I remember when we were here watching you guys last year, one of the things that stood out to me in watching you with your teammates is you're going up to every single guy while they're getting ready, and you're touching them, you're giving them a high five. And then you mentioned at Media Day the Steve Nash study that you came across. Yeah, I looked it up. It's really fascinating. Can you describe what it is?
Yeah, just ultimately, whether it's fist bumps, high fives, pats on the butt, right, whatever that, like, ultimately we recognize that season Steve Nash had more than any other, and you recognized he also had an unbelievable connection with his teammates. So we challenge each other when it comes to touches. We challenge, like, when something great happens, we got to go celebrate those moments, and then also recognize that's just as powerful when something's not going right? So our guys, their voice has grown throughout fall camp, throughout spring, and it's fun seeing those guys attack that.
Bo Nix has had tremendous touch points, right, and connection. Dylan Gabriel, same. You get the two most experienced starters in the history of the game. You got two guys at minimum, right, in Austin Novosad and Dante Moore that I'd imagine are following suit. Yeah. What are you observing? What will eventually tilt it for you to make a decision at that position?
Yeah, we evaluate every single day. I think we have a lot of confidence in multiple guys there, you know, at that position. What I'm probably most proud of is the way those guys have taken on leadership roles when they weren't in that position last season or the season before. So they're both very influential leaders, as well as other guys in that, you know, we've developed some other guys in that room. But ultimately it's going to be who performs the best, and we want more than one guy that can, right? And I think that's a position we have that.
Yogi mentioned under construction, and when you were driving in this morning, we saw all the construction. You can hear it behind us right now. Talk to us about what's going on here and this incredible project that I think is 2 years in the making.
Yeah, it's going to be something we're going to be utilizing some in 26, and then 2027 we'll be able to be, you know, completely in, and I'm very excited about it. It's a great example of, you know, we've always said Oregon's about innovation and continue to push, you know, the edge, and they're doing that with this building. There will be nothing in the world that touches this. It'll be a marvelous resource for our players, for our coaches. It'll allow us to teach at the highest level, so it's something we're really excited about.
We can confirm the grass is still damn green here in Eugene. Coach.
Amen. Ash, thank you.
Great to
Yogi,
see you.
Appreciate you.
Best of luck this year. We appreciate the access.
Thank you.
Still ahead, two of Dan Lanning's offensive stars join us to give their insight into the culture here in Eugene and what fans should expect in 2025. The Big Ten Training Camp Tour rolling on from Oregon. After producing back-to-back Heisman finalists at quarterback, the Oregon Ducks have yet to name their day one starter. Will Stein told us the battle between Dante Moore and Austin Novosad is still very much underway. Most believe it's Moore's job to lose, the former five-star transfer from UCLA coming in with big expectations. But no matter who takes the first snap, he will be surrounded by big-time talent all over the field. And two of those big-time talents joining us now, Kenyon, Sadiq, and Pancho Laloulu. Guys, great to see you. Thank you so much for making some time. I know you're busy and camp life is real. You were just talking about the dog days of camp. Yeah. I want to start with you, though, Pancho. You're the only full-time returning starter on the offensive side of the ball. From a leadership standpoint, how different has this offseason and camp felt for you?
I've obviously had to build some more. I had to speak up a little bit more, knowing that obviously last year we had a lot of leadership that left. So knowing that, like you said, me being the dude returning like a full-time starter, knowing that I have that voice and I need to speak up more for the guys.
Yeah. And Kenyon, I would say Coach Lanning just the other day was raving about your leadership and the evolution of how you've kind of grown into that role. Same question. How has it been? Has it come naturally to you or something that you've tried to work on?
Yeah, definitely been a point of improvement for me. You know, I've had great leaders before me, so just taking, you know, following in their footsteps, you know, and just developing those leadership traits has been a goal for me.
Okay, so let's double down on that because we've all seen the documentary series. You guys had like a leadership retreat. Yeah. Where you're getting coached and taught, I'd imagine, principles on how to do it. What did you take away from that retreat, and how are you making sure that some of those messages land on the current roster?
Right. I think one of the biggest things for me is just know how to be a leader and then like how to talk to certain people on the team. You know, not everyone's going to take a message, you know, the same way. So I think the biggest thing takeaway for me was just learning how to talk to certain teammates about certain things.
I mean, Kenyon pretty hit it on straight. I mean, my biggest thing, like having that connection part is one of our DNA traits. When you get to know a person's why and know how to talk to them and just being respectful to each other is probably the biggest thing. Like Kenyon was just talking about like the way you approach someone, you know. Not everybody approaches, you know, takes in some things, you know, a certain way and stuff like that.
I loved watching that video that you guys put out about the connection and people and Dan Lanning talking about you need to know your why and need to understand it, and the stories that you guys were sharing. It's clear there is a different type of connection in this program that Dan Lanning, since he's been here. Incredible to me that a full-time starter has not transferred out in this day and age. You don't see that. So from the inside perspective, what is it that he does?
Coach Lanning does a great job of emphasizing family. You know, we do a lot of stuff off the field. Though we like to grind and we do the hard work on the field, you know, Coach Lanning tries to make time for us, you know, go to his house, hang out, connect. Or some of the players we go, you know, take some of the guys we go out, you know, whether it's going bowling or we go out to the lake throughout the summer and stuff. We connect with the guys really good. And that's, like I said, it's probably one of our biggest DNA traits, to connect.
Yeah. I was just going to touch on the connection piece. I feel like there's a bunch of like-minded individuals in the facility. So when we're around each other, whether it's at the facility or outside the facility, I mean, we're all getting along and having a good time.
It's a fascinating stat that you mentioned, Ash, of starters do not leave. Starters have entered, though. You look to your left on the offensive line. There's some huge humans there. And Emmanuel Pregnon and Isaiah, greater than the world, right? What is that like for you when you line up?
Man, knowing that, you know, those two guys, they do a great job. You know, since they've been here, you know, they kind of built their confidence and how much they've grown into that leadership as well. Because, you know, as an offensive line, you know, we like to say it starts with us. You know, the play starts with us and me being a center. But knowing I got guys left and to my right, knowing that I got guys I can trust in, knowing that they'll execute their job and do it at 110%. It's awesome. Like you said, they big. Obviously, they're bigger than our guys last year, but those dudes are huge.
How about for you? It seems like the receivers, tight ends, you're like a hoops team. You got the freshman DeCorian Moore, like a little point guard. You got you as a power forward. You look at these weapons, and again, to Ash's point, replacing a ton.
Right.
How has that group of productivity of playmakers emerged in camp?
Right. This camp has been a great start for us. Just building the chemistry all around. Like I said, DeCorian's done a great job. GB, Kyler, all those guys getting in and out. And like I said, just getting the feel for each other. You know, we're really explosive. We have a lot of speed, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
We're not expected to know who the starting quarterback is before the first game on the 30th, but just from your perspective, can you tell me what Dante's unique trait is and what Austin's unique trait is?
For starters, they both just do a great job of just communicating with guys and getting in and out of plays, and you know, they both have the ability to make every throw in the book. They both do a really good job, and I've been fortunate to play with both of them, so they've both done a really good job.
I'm just being able to snap to both of them. It don't matter who we put in the game. We know that they'll do their job at the end of the day. You know, so they both do a great job of understanding the playbook. They do a good job, like you said, communicating. And it's probably one of the biggest traits when it comes to this game. You know, being able to communicate with the guys in certain situations. So I feel like Austin and Dante do a wonderful job at what they do.
No shortage of talent or depth at just about every position. Gentlemen, thanks for spending some time with us. We can't wait to watch you this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Well, no one in college football has lit up the scoreboard quite like Oregon the last couple of years. Nearly 40 points a game. That is tops in the nation. And the big question, as we've been talking about all day, can Will Stein's group keep firing with 10 new offensive starters? Plenty of star talent, newcomers like Mekhi Hughes in the backfield and freshman Bernard DeCorian Moore out wide. This group certainly still built to stretch the field and score in bunches. So, Yogi, let's talk about this Will Stein offense. And you've studied the way that he coaches. You've called a lot of Oregon games over the years. I think we need to start with quarterbacks because that's the thing that all Oregon fans who are watching this training camp show want to know. Watching practice today, what stood out to you at that position?
Okay, I do believe that they've got three quarterbacks that can start for teams in the Big Ten. Luke Moga, dynamic athlete, right? You saw it in the spring games the last 2 years he's been here. Austin Novosad, big-time recruit. Was coached by Will Stein when he was in junior high. He can play the position. To me, when I look at Dante Moore, there's just so many unique traits to who he is and who he's always been. I know they're not going to name a starter anytime soon. It might not be until week 1, but he's got such a unique ability to throw a catchable ball. I say that, and he can place it all over the field. I think to play the position, two things get you in the door. One is your competitive temperament. Check. 2, you have to have incredible accuracy, and not like ball here on the front number. Watching him in practice today, the location of the ball, the tempo on the ball, the revolutions, and a variety of throws, he's just really impressive. So we're not in all the meetings, right? We don't know all the things that have happened throughout the majority of training camp, but from what my eyes show me today, I just believe that Dante Moore has a chance to be a really elite player in this league and around the country.
You know, the moment that stood out to me from Dante Moore, it was a drop, actually. He threw a beautiful ball into the end zone. The receiver couldn't hang on to it. And right afterwards, he sprints over to him. just talking him up, giving him a fist bump. Like those types of traits are the stuff you're talking about that makes quarterbacks very special.
Well, think about
different.
this place, right? You walk through the facility and you see Marcus Mariota everywhere, right? The last few seasons, it's been Bo Nix, Dillon Gabriel, the most experienced quarterbacks in the history of college football. And last year, Dante Moore was around Dillon Gabriel, right? He's been around Bo Nix and Justin Herbert when they've come back here for pro days, just workouts in the offseason. So I just lean on that experience of like, that's kind of the standard at this position. And this offense, the amount of weapons they have. Kenyon, Sadiq, you look at these young receivers, like freshmen, sophomores, veterans, transfers. I mean, they have a lot of weapons, and they're going to run the football behind a massive offensive line. It's not a video game, but there's a version of this that is video game-esque. And I think if Dante Moore ends up winning that job, he's going to have a great time getting the ball to all those playmakers.
Well, and I think when the news came out that Evan Stewart got hurt, a lot of people were worried. But to your point, I mean, this wideout room, Dan Lanning said it the other day, he's got a ton of confidence in this group.
Yeah, DeCorian Moore is the guy that stood out. He's a true freshman. He was here mid-year. He played in the spring contest. I think he's going to have a big impact. Gary Bryant Jr., he's a transfer from USC a couple years ago, a little banged up last year. He's finally healthy. Then you look at the tight ends. I mean, Kenyon Sadiq is the lead, but they've got 3 other tight ends that I think can play in a variety of different situations. So weapons, weapons, weapons. And then at running back, 5 or 6 guys. And they all have a variety of similar skill sets, whether they're freshmen or the transfer of Mekhi Hughes. So again, what do you need in this league? What do you need in a 16-game season? You need competitive depth. Watching practice today, I felt like they had it. And then they've got the horses up front. This offensive line looks the part with Isaiah World, Manuel Pregnon, et cetera.
I will say, the best thing about being on these camp tours is the access that you get, and you get to see things that you don't normally get to see when you're here on a game week. Will Stein inviting us into the quarterback meeting and then the offensive meeting, I feel like my head is still spinning from what we saw there. What was your takeaway?
Well, I think the way that coaches teach is always so impressive. Dan Lanning's always said that, right? Like his first job when he was teaching junior high. I think Will Stein, same deal. He was coaching junior high. I think the way that they teach, it's dynamic. Athletes, players are involved. There's a ton of communication. It just lights you out. You just want to be a part of it. I think both of us were smirking back there like, yeah, like, let's go do our TV hit. Like, whatever you want, whatever is on the slate of to-dos, you want to just go attack it.
It was amazing. My favorite, though, was the sensitivity board that they have in the quarterback room. If you get sensitive about something, they put your picture up there until you get over it. So I'm going to do that for my kids in the kitchen.
I like that.
That's my takeaway. Still much more to come on this Oregon Duck training camp special. After leading one of the toughest defenses in the country the last couple of years, defensive coordinator Tosh Lupoi reveals what he's focused on heading into 2025. Closing in on the 59th season of Oregon football here at Adamson Stadium. The season opener set for August 30th against Montana State. And of the many questions around this squad, how quickly will Tosh Lupoi's new-look defense come together? In his first season at Oregon, the defense gave up over 27 points a game. The next 2 years, that number's all the way down to 18, along with big jumps in pass defense, total yards allowed, and third down stops. It is the kind of improvement that helped the Ducks run the table in the regular season last year. And now the question, yes, whether this year's group can raise the bar even higher. And the Oregon defensive coordinator, Tosh Lupoi, joining us now to talk about this defense. Year 4 for you in Eugene. We've been talking a lot today about all of the different pieces. Ton of talent. How does it all come together? From your perspective, where are you in camp compared to where you hoped you'd be at this point?
Yeah, it's been an awesome camp. Really excited about the group, the guys. What really stands out, just the hunger. We have a talented group, not a lot of experience, or at least Oregon experienced, so trying to do our best to channel that talent in the right direction.
Some of the Oregon experience you have is in that front seven. These guys now in year 3. Remember when Tatum and Mateo and company were freshmen here? What has it been like walking on the practice field in their third training camp under your tutelage?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Those guys sometimes, they're reminding me now of specific rules or, some formation checks or something. That's really cool to see. I think what's so unique these days is young men like them that came in as a true freshman in that room. We've had the opportunity to never take a single portal player, at that specific edge position. It's really cool to see the development of those guys and now their confidence level as they're, year 3 in the system. And again, some growing pains early on, but now, one of our strengths.
I think one of the strengths is how you also teach off the field, whether it's retreats, leadership retreats. What have you noticed about how they've taken some of those intangibles that you don't really have necessarily as a young player, trying to just survive and thrive within the scheme, to now when they're truly like the faces of that side of the ball for you?
Yeah, it's a great question, Yogi. I think what's really cool about it is in a retrospect or holistically, when you look at all of college football, what can happen right now with a lot of individualism, I think we've gone the opposite direction and formed a really strong culture. So starting with talent acquisition and then developing that culture, has been a special thing really to be a part of. And I think our guys referred to it as the power of the unit, but really a brotherhood and constant reminders, players to coaches and coaches to players of, we're really doing something for bigger than just myself, So I think those guys truly believe it. They take it to the field. They live it off the field. We're going to do something again tonight all together. And it's really rare here that maybe a week would even pass by where we're not doing something off the field together and constantly connecting.
You mentioned talent acquisition, which is kind of where it all starts, and you are known as one of the best at that. How have you evolved as an evaluator of talent? Because it's not just obviously what you see they can do on the football field, it's all that stuff that you're talking about that's going to be part of the culture.
Well, I think early on in my career, there was this correlation of, playing amongst really good players, or when I first started coaching, how those better players made the defense and the offense and special teams work better. So it was this strange thing, to be around maybe some coaches that didn't take recruiting as serious or important, and felt like, all right, as I learned to coach football, if I'm seeing this thing where you get some good players, it makes you a better coach. And then you learn and develop as a coach, get a little better there, and maybe you could create something special as far as having some sharp schematics, coach fundamentals and techniques well, and do it with players like the guys you just mentioned. That usually works out a lot better. So we've tried to stick to that, and take pride in that, and whether it's the schematic adjustments, whether it's the fundamentals and technique we're coaching, right, or evaluating, we're going to take great pride in all of it. So, the obvious ones, everyone is recruiting, and then maybe the guys like a Bryce Boettcher, where you could see some special attributes, but see that if he develops, those things could come out. So I think that's what, guys are missing in the evaluation phase at times, that we're going to take a lot of pride in and trying to go get those guys.
We'll let you go on this, but I have to bring up the fact that you were quoting the great poet Notorious B.I.G. in one of your press conferences recently. The line, and I don't know that anyone knew that it was Biggie, but it was treat every day like it's your first, like you've got that intern.
Yeah, you come to work like an intern.
Come to work like an intern.
No matter who you are, and I think we've created an awesome staff continuity within of, titles don't really mean nothing. It's about what you're bringing every day, and where our goal, right out in that field, is to bring juice with content, to have that energy, and that would just be an example, right? So obviously you study poetry a lot more than the others.
I have.
So it's
yes,
that you recognize
a poet over here.
That's right. If you don't know now, you know.
That's why we get her coffee as her intern.
Another poet said, right, sleep is the cousin of death. You know that one?
Don't like that poet.
I want to say Jay-Z, but I don't know that that's
Nostradamus.
Right. This is what? Oh, Nostradamus.
Nas, yes.
Same thing. Yeah.
That's right. So
I learn something from you every time. I'm dropping my stuff over here because you've got so much good content.
People usually do that around me. Start getting scared.
The poet, the defensive coordinator, the guy who takes his coffee black. Tosh Lupoi, thanks for the time. We appreciate you. It has been a terrific day with the Ducks, but we are not done yet. Back with some final thoughts as we break down the schedule, including the matchup Yogi's had circled from the moment it dropped. It's been an action-packed day here in Eugene. As we come back one last time, let's put a bow on this training camp stop with a look at what's ahead for the Ducks. And the season kicks off right here on the Big Ten Network, August 30th against Montana State, a team that won 14 games a year ago. Week 2 brings a big test against Oklahoma State, followed by the in-state rivalry game with the Beavs. And to close out September, the game that Yogi Roth has been talking about since the schedule came out 8 months ago, the Big Ten championship rematch against Penn State at Beaver Stadium. You are fired up for this one. It will be the whiteout.
It will be the whiteout. Penn State will have a bye in advance of that game. So there will be so much talk around State College and, of course, here in Eugene and across the country. I mean, this is going to be a top 10 match. It might be a top 5 matchup by the time we get there. And who knows, we might see a rematch of that game in a Big Ten title game or in a playoff game. And these are two of the best teams my eyes have seen in training camp. And I think the country would look at these rosters and look at that. When I look at the schedule, though, off the bat, Montana State. Yeah. We called the opener against Idaho last year. And Oregon had struggles on the offensive line. I don't think they have that this year. I think they know what happened a year ago. I expect them to start strong. Iowa on the road is another one that's pretty incredible to watch. And then of all their opponents, 4 teams have byes in advance of playing Oregon. So not going to be the easiest. Not going to be the easiest. And nothing ever is if you want to win a championship. And Dan Lanning has talked about we won 1 championship last year. We're here to win more championships. In terms of what this team is capable of, and you said it maybe off the top that they're being undervalued even though they're a preseason top 10, what do you think is the ceiling and the floor for this team? Well, the hype can get all of us excited. Yeah. And I think if you take a breath, there's still some truths, right? They're going to have a quarterback start who has not started a half a season, let alone an entire season in the Big Ten. They're going to have some offensive linemen that transfer in that have yet to play at this level. Isaiah World transferring from Nevada, for instance. So I think there's some truths, young receivers that have not been that experienced. But my hunch and my eye would tell me that this is a team that I think will meet the moment. So floor, you don't want to say like get to the playoff, but I think the way their schedule is laid out, this is a double-digit win team. Won't be easy at Penn State. Won't be easy at Iowa. Won't be easy at home against Indiana, both coming off a bye week. Won't be easy against SC. Like that's part of life in the Big Ten. But I have no reason to believe that this team can't find their way back to the postseason and a chance to win it all. It's the whole reason that the theme this year is double down. Dan Lanning said we like our process. We were in love with our process, so now let's double down on what we do and see if it can take us to even new heights. Well, for us, coming up next, we are going up north to Seattle. That's the next stop on the training camp tour, Husky territory, to see what Jedd Fisch has brewing in year 2 on Montlake. That is going to do it from Eugene. A big thank you to everyone at Oregon. Rob Mullins, Nate Kruger, always incredible hospitality from the Ducks. For Yogi Roth, I'm Ashley Adamson. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in Seattle.